So, you think you should learn a language just like a child does, do you? You might want to think again. Hi, my name's Juliet and I'm in the process of learning Italian. Let's take a serious and somewhat tongue-in-cheek look at this subject. Are those two things at odds? There may be a theme here. It seems to make sense to learn a language in the same way as a child learns their native language, because kids seem to do it so easily. But what does it actually mean to learn a language like a child? I think most people believe that to be full immersion in the language. In other words, going to live in a country where that language is spoken and where they can let their brain just absorb everything. But is that how it really works? Well, I've just listened to this audiobook, and although it's not exclusively about language, it is about how children learn. And there are quite a few things here that indicate for an adult to learn like a child really isn't a thing. Just a quick note, as I discuss these things, remember that I am not a scientist. I'm putting this into my own layman's language. If you want the full story, you'll have to read the book. First up, you start learning a language in the womb, hearing the patterns of the sound, the music, if you will. Yes, it's probably a bit muffled, but there's not a lot else to do other than grow, is there? So that's one advantage that as an adult you don't have. You will never have that concentrated language learning situation. You will always have distractions. But okay, that's not really learning a language. That's like listening to a language and not understanding a word, just finding it a pleasant sound. Well, how about this? When we are born, stored in our brains are all the patterns of language, and the sounds we might need to produce and understand in our native language, wherever we're born. Whoa, mind blown. However, as soon as we're out and properly listening to our native language, we very quickly decide the sounds that we need and discard the rest. Straight into the brain bin with no opportunity to get them out again easily. Yes, that's right, that glee sound you have so much trouble with in Italian, or rolling your R's, was lost at birth, more or less. Darn it. Okay, there are a few people, but not many, who retain some of this ability as they get older. But don't count on the fact that you're one of them. Of course, this is where kids with a bilingual parentage get a huge advantage. They get to keep twice as many sounds, but I'm guessing it might take them a little longer to work out which word belongs where. What's next? Okay, kids then take 10 years to learn their native language. Yes, 10 years, not 3 months, not 5 years, not a week. Right, well that 10 years is to acquire approximately 50,000 words in their native language. And you don't actually need that many words to be able to speak a foreign language. But to speak like a native, you probably do. I don't think there are many people who can actively learn 5,000 words a year in their target language without living in the country. At prime input stage, kids learn somewhere between 10 and 20 words a day. But this, of course, is the optimal situation, where those around them encourage them to learn language, who speak to them, who answer questions and all that kind of thing. If they're not in that kind of situation, they're at a disadvantage and won't learn as much or as well. The way kids learn is largely by trial and error and finding repeated patterns. It's no wonder it takes a long time. Where I think we as adults have the advantage is that we understand these patterns because we've been through it all once. We can shortcut with different learning tools. Take your pick, we have a ton of them. We can decide what we need to get by in the language we're learning and choose to only study certain things. So it probably won't take us 10 years to learn what we want to learn. But that isn't learning like a child. There are other things we have the advantage with as well. Babies can recognise a sentence at the age of 2 months, which is amazing. But when we start learning a new language, we can pretty much understand a sentence, or what is a sentence, straight away. Here's another interesting fact. We retain the ability to learn vocabulary throughout our lives at the same sort of level. But with grammar, after the age of 17, our ability to learn it starts to decline. Well, that explains a lot. If you're learning a language that has different grammar rules to your own, it's going to be tough, and that's most of us. How about some other learning techniques that cover all ages? Paying specific attention to particular words that you're learning makes it easier to learn them, as does spaced repetition. Flashcards, and even Duolingo gets a mention, are good for this kind of thing. Having a clear goal and a reason to learn something makes it easier. What is your goal for learning your language? Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone helps to learn. YouTube channel, anyone? Laughing also helps. If you get something wrong, laugh at it. Don't worry about it. And I've said this before, but get plenty of sleep to consolidate your learning. So yes, in some ways you can learn like a child. But you're an adult. You have a different understanding of many things. Learn like an adult. And don't look back. As I said at the beginning, this book is not exclusively about language learning. It covers many other stages of learning for children and subjects. It also includes some comparisons to how AI learn. If that seems like your kind of thing, why not give it a go? See you next time.